Good morning, everyone. Welcome into the Saturday Morning Coaching Show. I'm Don Julian, and we have a special deal today. Bailey Dorner, the Lady Cats volleyball coach, is scheduled to be here. I believe she's on her way, so we look forward to her arrival. In fact, I think somebody's pulling into the parking lot right now, so Coach Dorner will be joining me very shortly. I've got the special opening here in the studio open so coaches can kind of slide in, so we'll just welcome her on in when she gets here. And here she comes as we get ready for this Saturday morning coaches show. It's hard to get Coach Owens to come out when he doesn't have a football game to talk about. Coach, good morning.
Good morning.
Glad to see you.
Yes, glad to be here.
And just as we always do, let's go ahead and touch on other things. And don't have much to say about football. Of course, the Friday night game, the homecoming game against Hallsville was canceled. And the notification said that information concerning future football games would be coming to us. And we've heard nothing yet. I sent out a text to Greg Owens this morning to try to find out the status of the Crandall game this coming Friday, and I guess I don't know if that's still being determined or what that is, but anyway, all I know is we do not know at this time, and we'll certainly tell you as that word is passed along. Sulphur Springs cross country, they ran at Eustis on Thursday. And I'll be getting the results from that from Ross Hicks on Monday. And then this week for cross country, they'll be at Commerce on Saturday. And Wildcat team tennis, they've canceled a couple of matches last Saturday against Van, and then this past Tuesday canceled a trip to Pleasant Grove. And next on their schedule, and again, I'm not sure of the status of this, but team tennis scheduled to host Hallsville at home this Tuesday at the Wildcat Tennis Center. And so hopefully later on we will find out about that. But again, a lot of health issues around the high school, and so we will just have to see. So that's basically everything else. And as always, when we find out news, we will get it to you just as quickly as we can. Glad to be joined now by Bailey Dorner, the second-year head coach of the Lady Cats. She's not new to the coaches show. We've had her on before. David Carrillo, softball team. She's an assistant for Coach Carrillo, and she's been on this show to talk about softball, as we've had a nice long history of having assistant coaches on the coaches show, including Coach Dorner. So we're glad, again, to have her back today in her second season. And we've got a lot of interesting and exciting things to talk about. An unusual doubleheader last night, Coach, to make up for the Mount Pleasant game that was lost last week. So we're able to play that, plus the regular scheduled game with Pine Tree. And so that was big, and it's been a big week. Tuesday game with Marshall, so you get 3 games at home. You really got to make hay during the time when you've got these home games.
Yes, and it was definitely coming off the loss last week at Texas High. We went over there, lost in 3. It's definitely disappointing to come out, starting district like that. And the girls really bounced back this week. I told them on Monday, I said, you have a chance to be 3-1, or you have a chance to be 0-4. And I'm really proud of the way they worked, how they came together and walked away with 3 wins this week.
Yeah, you had to be worried about that 3-1. You're playing Marshall and you're down 2-0, and something turned that match around. All of a sudden, after their backs to the wall, they come back and win the last 3 to win that match 3-2 on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I told them, they have a choice. We're down 2. And you can either just lay down and give it to them, or you got to come together and fight. And they did. And, I talked about the 5-set curse. We hadn't won a 5-setter since last year in preseason in August. So coaching staff was a little worried. Not that we didn't have faith in them, but we were just a little worried that we couldn't pull it out and finish in the 5th. But we did.
I can be gloomy sometime, and when you went into that fifth set, I said, I'll warn you right now, this team has struggled with five setters. And I knew the information that you were talking about had been last year and very early, but not only won it, but really kind of seized it. I mean, they jumped out strongly and just cruised. I think it was 15-8, so that's getting it done.
Yeah, usually, any set, we're kind of a little relaxed in the beginning. We have a tendency to get down early, and it was nice to see us jump out there. And it was nice to see us last night against Pine Tree kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
We jumped out there in that first set, got a big lead. So that's something that we like to see.
Well, let's talk about last night. I said in my story, I'm not with the team all the time. You see them every day in practice. You see them scrimmages, all the games. And I said perhaps the best volleyball they've played this year. What did you think? How did that rank this year for you?
Yeah, I have to agree. I feel like all the way around, nobody had a bad game. I feel like we were all firing on all cylinders. We were all playing well. I really liked in the Pine Tree game, I think you said it, the ball just didn't hit the floor. And that's something we've struggled with is taking that extra bit of effort and, laying out there for that ball. And so it was nice to see that in the Pine Tree game. And then I was a little worried, having a back-to-back game, a quick turnaround. And I think, going into the Mount Pleasant game, we were a little tired at the beginning. I think in that first set that showed, got a little relaxed. But we turned it around, came back together and walked away with the winning 3.
And really some dominating scores. When you look, first of all, in Pine Tree, you talked about how you jumped on them. And I guess that's important because they're coming in, they've just had a really long bus ride from Longview area, and 25-9 to start that out against Pine Tree, and then 25-12 and 25-13. When you see that kind of score, you know that your team really dominated that match.
Yes, we did, and I tell them, I just want you to compete. I want you to go out there and compete. I said, this isn't league. We're not here to have fun and take it easy on somebody. Like, you need to make a statement. And I think we did in that first set, and we didn't get relaxed. We didn't let them come back. We kept that lead, and we just pushed through all the way to the end, which is something I'm really thankful that we're doing now because we haven't done that in the past.
I remember some non-district matches several years ago. I think Coach Manus was there, and for some reason or the other, we ended up scheduling 2 matches instead of just 1, so we had the double match. And we play somebody, and I can't remember, maybe Pleasant Grove or somebody like that, but it was a knockdown, drag-out affair that went 5 sets. And then we turn around and play some smaller school, but very talented, and we were out of gas, and we just got clobbered. And I know the coaching staff was worried last night that you get involved in a 5-setter against Pine Tree that takes everything out of you, and you're not going to have much left for Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, and something we've really focused on this year with them pushing season back, and we had basically all of August to continue to work out. Our girls are in the weight room every single day. We are doing cardio and lifting weights every day. So I would say the program is in the best shape they've ever been. And I think that really helps when you've got to play a duel. You're not completely out of gas. You may be a little tired in that second set, which I think we were against Mount Pleasant, but we're not just beat down and tired. And I think what we're doing in the weight room has really paid off. And that was obvious last night because I saw the girls, they still had legs on them at the end of the game. They weren't just moping around because their legs are dead or they're tired. And so I think that really helps out.
Yeah, very, very good. The scores against Mount Pleasant were 25-18, 25-19, and 25-6. But you talked about that second set. I looked through my scoring, and you were down 5 points. I think it was 13-8.
Yeah.
And they were beginning to get momentum. They were beginning to believe, hey, this is happening. But at that point, we really kind of began to turn things around. I think at 14-14, we were tied, and then we just kind of cruised it on out like we'd been doing all night long. So very impressive performance all night long.
Thank you. The one thing I wish, that Mount Pleasant game, we made just some silly errors and gave them some points. So that's one thing that I was a little bit disappointed in, but I'm just glad we pulled it out, especially in that third set, and made a statement there at the end.
Yeah, as I was driving home from the volleyball thinking about the game, I was thinking, I can't think of much negative. I guess my old bugaboo is hitting that serve into the net. That
Yes.
always drives me batty. But the unforced errors, where you just give them something that they just standing over there waiting and get the point. But outside of that, I said, I can't really think of that much negative. And I said, well, I know coaches. You're looking for perfection as best you can get it. And not so much as just kind of nitpicking to find a mistake, but to try to get these girls better where they don't make those mistakes again.
Yes, going back to last week against Texas High, that's what killed us over there was just errors. And when I tell them when we have the chance, when we have the ball, you've got to execute. You got to find a way. Don't just give them the game. You've got to make them earn it.
All right, lots more to talk about with Bailey Dorner, one of our young, talented coaches at Sulphur Springs High School that we're very proud of. Let's take our first break here, and we'll be back with more right after this. And back here on the Saturday morning coaches show with a special volleyball show today with the Wildcats football game canceled last night against Hallsville, the homecoming game, because of health issues. And so more on that as we find out about it. But we were talking about Lady Cats volleyball. And I guess to go ahead and continue, just talk about some of the players that really had excellent games, because I want to talk about everybody on your roster, Coach. You've got such a good group. But it all starts with Sadie Washburn. I think everybody knows that. She's a 3-year starter, or a 3-year varsity player with a lot of time on the court. And especially for the last 2 years, she's just been really lights out. Even as a sophomore, she showed so much potential. But big game for her in a couple of different areas. Of course, kills, you always expect that. But I want to talk about her serve a little bit. She had a lot of aces last time.
Yeah, she's been working on that top spin serve last year. It was really just a float serve. Worked on it a little bit in practice, but didn't really have the confidence to do it in a game. And this year I just told her to go for it, and she's definitely been working hard. And when it's on, it's on. And it's definitely tough on the receiving end, and it's a great way for us to get some momentum back. And it was nice to see last night her rattle off quite a few.
Yeah.
I did threaten them in the huddle. I was like, if we miss another serve, we are running gassers on Monday. And we didn't miss another serve, so I guess I need to threaten them more often. I don't know. But
Start early.
She definitely has a great serve, and she's definitely been working on it, and it shows.
How does she accomplish that? Does it have something to do with the way you hit it with your fist? We used to have a server that, when a tennis player can throw that ball up and kind of slice it to cause it, how do you do that with, you have to use your hand or something with a volleyball.
She just has, she has a great vertical. She's already tall, but then she has a great vertical, and she has the ability, when she tosses that ball so high, to get on top of it and just come down over the top of the ball, and it just drops off the table when it goes across the net. And that's why she has so many aces. Those receivers, those passers on the other side of the court, they're waiting on that ball, and then boom, it's just on the ground before they can even think about it.
Yeah, it is really something else. I mentioned during the broadcast that I definitely wanted to talk about it, because you're right, it does dip, and it looks like a knuckleball going. I mean, it's got crazy rotation, and you can tell sometime when they hit it, it's just likely to go anywhere.
Yes.
And she did get at one point, of course, I like the server gets all the credit, but those other 5 players make it happen too. But she had 10 straight serving points. I believe that was maybe in the very first match.
Yes.
Which took it from a fairly close match to where it was just a runaway.
Yeah, and she survived a timeout there. That's what servers, the dreaded timeout. They get in their head. They have time to think about it. Not just her last night. A couple different ones survived multiple timeouts. So that was nice to see.
All right. Yes, Sadie, I've been making the case that she perhaps maybe is the greatest Lady Cat volleyball player that we've ever had. And I've talked to a lot of different people. Of course, Coach Hammock, he goes back about as far as I do, so we're kind of limited, and we don't really know in the years before we got there, whether there was just an outrageously good volleyball player. I know some of them got some scholarships and some of that kind of stuff, but just from what we had seen, he, mentioned a lot of people talk about Kaylee Jefferson, because she was a real difference maker. You can't go into that discussion without talking about Autumn Tanton, what a wonderful player Autumn was. And then for at least 1 year anyway, Rita Hill was about as good of a volleyball player as we had and super athletic. And as far as I know, she's still playing.
Really?
I think I know she got a scholarship at Stephen F. Austin. I haven't heard from her lately, but and who knows with everything that's going on. But anyway, those are just some of the names that come to mind for me. I know you've been around a few years.
Right. So those are before my time, but I've heard people talk about them. Sadie's big thing is, Sadie plays club ball. She plays volleyball all year long, and that definitely shows in the growth that she's had as a player. She competes at a high level, and it shows when she's on the court.
Absolutely. Of course, her sidekick this year, Brooklyn Burnside, we talked last year about how good she got, how much better in 1 year, and of course she just continues to improve. And she's big on kills. In fact, she had more than anybody in that second match against Mount Pleasant. But perhaps the thing that she really shines at is those blocks.
Yes, Brooklyn is one of the hardest working kids in our program. I would put her up against anybody, and it definitely shows. She's extremely coachable, and she listens, and she wants to get better. If she makes a mistake, she's just waiting on feedback to how she can improve, and it's definitely showed. Even from last year, she just has become a lot more court awareness and smart about placing the ball where people are not. And, she's a threat at the net. And last night, I know blocking, she's been great. Last night, it was nice to see her get the kills that I know she's capable of. I see it in practice every day. She's putting it down. And sometimes in a game, it doesn't show as much, but last night it definitely did. And so I'm proud of her effort. She comes out there every day just working her tail off.
And it seems like to me she's gotten better at not getting her shot blocked. It seems like she's avoiding those blockers because a lot of players, do get that shot blocked when they're up at the net.
Yeah, early in the season, she did struggle with that. And, we've been working on practice, having her go against a triple block almost every time she's swinging, just to, be able to turn that ball one way or the other, to be able to read the defense while she's in the air and just work around it. And so she's done a great job of that.
She's fun to watch because I don't know, a lot of players have the joy of playing volleyball. You can tell, they celebrate the points and stuff like that, but she seems to really enjoy it.
Yeah, she loves it, and she's a joy to be around. And it's the same in practice. If you see her in practice, she is always smiling, always positive, just loves being out there, just loves the game.
And another player that stood out in the stats, your libero, which we could talk all show about what that position's all about, but I've been told that a lot of times your libero is your best athlete on the team. And I know that's putting a lot on a person, but your libero is Paris Pickett, and she is incredibly athletic, and you see it with some of those digs and diving saves that she makes to keep the ball alive.
And I think that's what's so great about Paris is she's willing to sacrifice. She's willing to just fly all over the place and get to balls that nobody else wants to. And that's, what I look for in a libero, someone who is just going to be all over the place. The whole court is theirs. And she does a great job of that. She comes up with balls that I honestly don't know how she does. And it's great to see.
Yeah, that athleticism is just incredible. We've got a lot more players to talk about, a lot more volleyball to talk about. Let's take our second break, and we'll be back with more right after this. And back here on Saturday morning coaches show, Coach Dorner's got ties to Mount Vernon. The Mount Vernon football team won last night, a big district game against Mineola, and they came out on top.
Yeah, they're undefeated so far. Last night was going to be a good test for them. The quarterback for Mineola is going to SMU. It was a back and forth game all night long, but they pulled it out at the end. Tied in the fourth quarter, kicked a field goal there at the end, and came away with the win.
Yeah, having a great season over there. I know. I think this was really, in my mind, their first real test, but they've got like Pottsboro and, some of the other big boys, especially that big Winsboro rivalry coming up.
Coming up in a couple weeks. That's always a good one.
He's probably, sounds like Coach Dorner's already got that marked on the schedule. But I thought we'd just inject that while we were talking. We are talking about some of the Lady Cats volleyball players. And another one that popped up in the stats last night, and again, one of these people with multiple talents, and we're talking about Lainey Hurst. You added her as a server, but she is getting so good at keeping that ball off the floor and keeping it alive, and made some incredible plays from the back row.
Yeah, Lainey's a sophomore. This is her first time, being at the varsity level, making the big jump from being on the freshman team last year. And she definitely works hard. She's a great cross-country runner, and she just competes. She gets out there. She's willing to work, very coachable, and she's gotten a lot better at reading the other team's hitters and anticipating where the ball is going to go instead of just having to react to it.
All right, yeah, she's made herself valuable in a lot of different ways, and of course, when you do that, you get more playing time from the coach, don't you?
Yes, it makes it better for the whole team when you have people who can play multiple positions and do the job well.
Another big leader of the team, and kind of I would imagine, very kind of a vocal leader, I would think, is Peyton Hammock, another one of those club ball players. I know Coach Hammock seems to be all times of the year going to see her play volleyball somewhere or the other. But, you think mostly of assist, and that's really, what you depend on her is to get to that second hit and set up the third hit for a big finish.
Yeah, we run a 5-1. Peyton's our only setter. And the thing last night that I think she did different in the 2 games that she has before is she really did a great job of mixing the ball well. Moving it to all 3 hitters, really reading the other team's blockers and going where they're not, and really set our hitters up for a great success to have no block there and just be able to free swing.
Yeah, I can see how it would be good because if she was going to Sadie every time, then she would have, this cluster of players ready to block her off and not worry about.
We
too
get
much
predictable,
yeah.
And so it was nice to see her switch things up last night.
All right, well, that was just some of the players the reason I brought them up, of course, Peyton had 32 assists, and to me, that's a lot. I mean, I think in 24 or something like that in the first set. So and you expect, she better have a lot of assists for you. That's what she does.
Exactly. That's her sole job is to, our passer's got to give her a great pass, but a lot of times, even if the pass isn't great, she can make something out of it and set our hitters up to really be able to do something.
Let's talk about some of the players that you depend on, and all these, kind of, have some minutes to come in and play, and maybe they have little things that they do that you really depend on. I think about, of course, Breasia Ivory. She's always coming in off the bench to serve, and she, again, too, is really good at digging that ball off the floor and making sure that it stays alive.
She is an amazing athlete. She's super quick, has great reaction time, and so it's nice to see her. She played a little bit with us last year at the varsity level when we needed her, but it's nice to see her step into that role and really make a name for herself on the back row.
A few seniors on the team. You've already had senior night, and that was pretty cool. But one of those, Nyla Lindley, and she's up there at the net and did a good job of getting some kills last night.
Yeah, Nala's just a competitor. When she's up there at the net, she's just looking for a way to win, and she's gotten some great blocks for us. And when she gets a set, she can put it down. She's got some strength and got some athleticism to get up there and hit the ball, and so it's nice to see her get a little more confidence last time.
The next player that sees some time along the net is Caroline Hurley, and she's a left-hander.
Yes.
Does that throw a curve at the other team a little bit, the ball coming off the left hand?
It's great to have a left-hander there in that right side position. It really gives them some more options to be able to go line or go cross and really use that block. And there's very few left-handers out there, so it's definitely kind of a curveball for the defense. They never really know where the ball's fixing to go.
We talked about Brooklyn Burnside and how she went from one year to the other, and it's just she couldn't believe it was the same person. I think the girl I see that I think has that upside is Addison Wall, a sophomore, young player, but just oozing with potential, looks like to me.
Yeah, Addison's another one. She works her butt off every single day. She's just ready to learn, extremely coachable. And, we had some growing pains there at the beginning, going from that freshman level to the varsity level, just the pace of the game. She struggled there at the beginning, but she's really got her confidence back and is just determined to find a way to get the ball up and determined to find a way to win.
Now, you added a young lady to the varsity for the last couple of games, and she's contributed. That's Caslin Hurley, and she's not related to the other Hurley. I couldn't believe that, but it's I guess a fairly common name, but not all that common. Kind of somewhere in the middle, but in a small town, you figure everybody's related to everybody anyway, but she's done a good job.
Yeah, we moved her up this week. Our game against Marshall was her first debut, and actually this year, she's a junior. Previous year, she's played the right side position. We moved her to a middle this year just to see how things go. She's really melded well into that spot and done a great job. And, we had some things happen early in the week, and I needed her to step up, and she did. And she's definitely solidified a spot there, I believe. Was a great person at the net, was just a real force blocking that ball. She gets up, she's got a great vertical, she can get up above the net, and she does a good job being a defensive spot up there.
I guess the thing you look for when a young player or a person that doesn't have much, I should say she's a junior, so she's been on the court, but that doesn't have that much varsity experience, is you wonder about them getting on the big stage and kind of freezing up, deer in the headlights and all that. But she looked very calm and cool and like she belonged out there.
Yes, I agree. Tuesday we were a little nervous, only having one day of practice, not really ever being in that spot where they've got to compete against the varsity level, and she really did well. She was poised. She did a good job of just going out there and doing what she needed to do.
Kind of the future of that middle, maybe your Brooklyn Burnside our senior year next year with Caslin Hurley, who will also be a senior.
It is looking good.
All right, what Coach Dorner's thinking about some of that thought process. Let's take our third internal break. Back with more right after this. And back here on Saturday morning coaches show. A couple of other youngsters that get called on from time to time. You've got Landry Spear. She likes to serve, and so she does some things for you.
Yeah, Landry joined us this year. She moves in from Roy City. Her family made their way out here, and she's really been great to have. She has a wonderful serve. She sets for my JV team, and is just a real great kid to be around. Really loves the game and just loves to play.
Another player you've got on the bench, she's made the roster a couple of times, Molly Maker, and I know she's there for you if you need her.
Yeah, she's really done a great job of filling that role of, if somebody's in trouble on the back row, you're going in. And she knows that I'm going to rely on her to be great in serve receive and great on defense, and she's done that job well.
A fun team to coach this year?
Oh, yeah. They're a mess, but I do love them, and they're fun to be around. They make practice fun. They joke around. They really all get along for the most part, and so they're good to be around.
With a crazy season, I was talking a little bit with the Pine Tree coach last night, Coach Cold Iron, and she said, she mentioned the pre-district, and she said such that it was, just a match or two. Now, you were very creative to try to create a few more matches, but it wasn't easy, was it? It just happened so quickly. With everything, with a late start and everything, you play a few matches. You can't play any tournaments to get all that experience. And the next thing you know, you're in district.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks of preseason. I scheduled some duels, so we made it out of there with 6 preseason games, which was more than a lot of people got to have. So I'm thankful that worked out. But we had that extra month in August, and I told the girls, I said, season will be here before you know it. And we have a short preseason, and district is starting, and we've got to work out those kinks right now in practice versus, getting your tournament season and getting all those games and being able to just, okay, this game didn't work. Well, we've got 3 more this week coming up. And so it was good to see them do the work in practice that we would normally get to do in a preseason.
One of the things that almost every season in every sport that suffers is fundamentals, like right foot and left foot and and just everything from, your serving technique and all that kind of stuff kind of falls by the wayside because you're too busy playing matches. Coach Owens felt like that their extra time that they had before they could start in August, same for volleyball, was very beneficial because they got to do a lot of teaching and working and that kind of thing with the players to try to work on some of these things. Has that helped you?
Yes, we, all those practices where it felt like we were practicing for months and months, but we really took the time to split them up into defensive group, serve, receive. Coach Shay, my assistant Shay Schaefer, she was a collegiate volleyball player. She was a hitter. She knows so much about the game. I would just send my hitters to her, and she would get to work on them, one-on-one in a small group and really fine-tune those things that a lot of times you don't get to because just things are crazy. So,
whoever we've had for a volleyball coach over the years, especially the last few years, I think in my mind is very blessed because you can look down there and see Jared Hammock, and you can see David Carrillo, and these are 2 head coaches in other sports that are assistant coaches in volleyball. And I would imagine, I don't care what the situation is, you can go to those 2 guys and say, hey, what have you seen? What have you done? What do you do in this situation? I mean, that's, to me, I've always thought that the head volleyball coach really has quite a deal with that situation.
Yeah, definitely blessed with those two. Just the wisdom that they have, being around sports in general and, being head coaches for all those years. It's really nice. When I'm at a loss for words and I don't know what else to say, they are quick to step in and fill that gap. And they're great. They're great to be around even off the court. They're great friends. It's just a great atmosphere to work in.
Yeah, softball and baseball, two of my favorite sports, just because of those two guys, and they've been around forever. Coach Hammock is the longest tenured coach at Sulphur Springs High School since I've been there. He's just ahead of Greg Owens by a few months. Greg came along just a few months after. Coach Hammock goes back to '05, and Carrillo came along the next year. So both of those guys with tons of experience. Schedule this week, you take a bye on Tuesday, and then here comes Hallsville on Friday, your by-district opponent last year, and they'll be a handful in the main gym at Sulphur Springs High School next Friday.
Yes, they're coming off a 2-week quarantine. They actually played a game against Mount Pleasant, so me and Carrillo are going to go scout that game, and we're really going to use Monday, watch some film, come up with a game plan, and then just practice that game plan the rest of the week and show up and be ready to play. And the girls always have a little sense of excitement when the word Hallsville comes up. They're just ready to compete, and they know it's going to be a fight, but I think they're ready for it.
We've seen everybody in the district with the exception of Hallsville and Longview. Who looks like the team to beat right now?
Things are crazy right now because, with everybody, Mount Pleasant was quarantined, Hallsville was quarantined. Pine Tree beat Marshall in 4, but then we whooped up on Pine Tree in 3, but beat Marshall in 5. And so it's kind of just a hodgepodge of who's all healthy, who all has their kids, and who's going to show up to play. Because I think if you look at us as a team last week against Texas High and then us as a team this week, that's two completely different teams. I haven't seen much on Longview, hoping to go watch them on Tuesday, kind of scout out that game and see what they're going to be like. But I know they're going to be athletic. They always are. And a lot of times when you're athletic, you can make plays that you shouldn't really make plays. And so it's always a hard team to play is an athletic team because they're not necessarily fundamentally sound, but they just find a way to get it done. So,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of just neck and neck. It's kind of up for grabs who's going to be who this year.
And you're off to a good start. You certainly have taken advantage of your home court. You have a very home-friendly first half, 4 games out of 6 at home. And you've got 3 home games, got wins in every one. You've got 1 road loss. So, because the second half will be tough. You have the 2 home games, but the 4 road trips. But so it's wide open volleyball, and look forward to the rest of it, Coach. I appreciate your time coming in today.
Of course. Thank y'all.
All right, Bailey Dorner, the head volleyball coach, Sulphur Springs High School. Even the season record at 6-6. Coach Dorner's won 30 games in her second season, and so that's a good start for what we hope is a long career. And so appreciate your time again, Coach, coming in. And that's going to do it for this Saturday morning coaches show. We appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm Don Julian. So long, everybody.